It's 10 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, 9 p.m. in London, 4 p.m. in New York, and 5 a.m. in Beijing. This is TVC News. Our top stories tonight. Court orders final forfeiture of $4.7 million, 830 million naira, and properties linked to the former governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele. Police advise Osun State government to suspend the planned elections in the interest of public safety and national stability. Outside Nigeria, U.S. President's envoy to Ukraine calls Volodymyr Zelensky a courageous leader after days of criticism from the White House. In sports, Manchester City host table-toppers Liverpool at Etihad Stadium. Thanks for joining us on the news tonight. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. We'll begin with judicial matters, where the Federal High Court in Lagos today issued an order for the forfeiture of $4.7 million, 830 million naira, and several properties linked to the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Justice Yelim Bogoro, who had earlier dismissed an application aimed at blocking the ruling, granted the final forfeiture application brought forward by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, represented by Counsel Bilkisu Buhari Bala. The forfeited funds, now officially handed over to the federal government, were held in accounts in 3 banks. These accounts were allegedly managed by individuals and entities including Omoile Anita Joy, Deep Blue Energy Service Limited, Exit Code Bureau d'Ocean Limited, Lipam Investment Services Limited, and Tatler Services Limited. Others are Rosaju Global Resources Limited and Till Communication Nigeria Limited. The Osun State government has secured an order from the State High Court allowing it to proceed with Saturday's local government election. The order also directed all security agencies to maintain peace before, during, and after the polls.
On Thursday, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, advised the Osun State government to shelve its local government election scheduled for Saturday in compliance with the Court of Appeal judgment. Less than 24 hours later, the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Oluwole Jimibada, addressed journalists at the Government House in Osogbo, announcing that the State High Court had approved the conduct of the election.
State government has a control over the affairs of OSEC. It's just like the federal government cannot control INEC, state government cannot control OSEC. The order and the judgment is against OSEC, and I want to enjoin the good people of Osun State to comply with the judgment and decision of the Osun State High Court by going out tomorrow to cast their votes for the political parties of their choice.
I want to restate that our great party, the Action People's Party, will participate in Saturday election. Our party has been equipped to arrive at the decision by the reason of the appeal court, dismissal of the APC suit at the appeal court on the 13th of January 2015.
While the state chapter of the Allied People's Movement announced its decision to boycott the poll, candidate contesting under the Labour Party called for its postponement. In a statement issued by the Osun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, the party stated that it is not concerned with the High Court order, emphasizing that there are no vacancies in any of the local government councils. The statement noted that the reinstated chairmen and councillors, as directed by the Court of Appeal judgment, will resume office on Monday. At a press conference organized by the Justice Development and Peacemaker Center, JDPMC, some clergymen also urged politicians to play by the rules.
For us to come out and speak, to talk to our political leaders, to please be calm, to put things in order. Our state has been known to be a peaceful state, and we want to continue to enjoy that peace. And like as you said, if there is no peace, there will be no progress.
To ask and plead with all the stakeholders in our political arena to allow peace to reign, to stop anything called bloodshed, to stop the burning of the properties.
Rafiu Hamid, TVC News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Police Force says it has received credible intelligence indicating a high likelihood of violence and significant security threats should the planned local government elections proceed in Osun State. According to the statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the reports gathered from joint intelligence revealed that various groups, including political elements and other interest parties, are mobilizing to instigate unrest, disrupt public peace and undermine the democratic order. He said, given this imminent threat to security, the police advises the Osun State government to suspend the planned elections forthwith in the interest of public safety and national stability. The force has assessed the current security landscape and determined that proceeding with the elections under these volatile conditions could escalate into widespread unrest, endangering lives and property. The Nigeria Police Force, in collaboration with other security agencies, is fully prepared to take decisive action to prevent any breakdown of law and order. He adds that to avert unnecessary confrontation and safeguard the democratic process, it's in the best interest of all stakeholders that the elections be stood down. He asks all stakeholders, including political parties, to act with restraint and prioritize the well-being of citizens during this period. Let's bring in Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kunle Adegoke, for more on this development. Senior Advocate, thanks for joining us on the news tonight. The OCEC is under a lot of pressure coming from the AGF as well as the police as regards concerns about the conduct of this election. But what does this order by the Osun State High Court really mean for the legitimacy of this election scheduled to hold tomorrow?
Thank you very much, Nifemi. I will say straight away that the order procured from the Osun State High Court on the 21st of February 2025 is fraudulently and illegally obtained. And it was quite undiscerning for the institution and the personality that granted the order in question. When you look at the order, you agree with me that this cannot be a product of a legitimate procedure of adjudication. Here we have an order granted in favor of People's Democratic Party that decided to bring an action against itself in a case where there is no dispute, in a case where there is no cause of action. Why do I say this? When you look at the order obtained by PDP, you see that it was obtained against Mr. Hashim Abioye, the chairman of Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, which has been criticized to be a body under the control of Mr. Hashim Abioye, who is a card-carrying member of People's Democratic Party. Aside from this, OCEC has never said in the past few weeks that it will not conduct the election into the local government councils on 22nd of February. It has always insisted that it is going to conduct the election, and that is in defiance of the decision of the Court of Appeal in the decision handed down on the 10th of February 2025, where we have a body that has insisted that it is going to do an act. You now find someone bringing an action to compel that same body to do the particular act. Where is the dispute? What exactly is the cause of action? On what basis is the judge making such an order? It is an order illegally procured and granted by the judge in a manner that is quite questionable. And in this circumstance, it is not a product of legitimate adjudication in any manner whatsoever.
The order of the State High Court also asks security agencies to provide security before, during, and after the conduct of this election. What is the provision of the law when there are concerns, especially from the Nigeria Police Force, saying it can't guarantee that this exercise will hold without rancor?
Yes, the implication then is that it would have been better for the judge to direct the applicant in this case to put the police on notice so that they can come and justify why they should not be directed to provide security in a situation where they fear that there will be a breakdown of law and order. Rather than the judge doing this, he rather went ahead to grant the prayers of the People's Democratic Party against a defendant that is not even resisting the order in the first place. Aside from this, when you look at that order, you see that it is quite questionable on the basis that the procedure by which it was even obtained is unknown to law. Here is a judgment granted on the basis of a mere motion on notice. I have seen the order. I've read it thoroughly, times without number, and I discovered that it was an order made pursuant to a motion on notice. A motion on notice is not a means of commencing an action. It is a means of obtaining what we call maybe an interlocutory order. And where a motion on notice is filed by a party, the order to be made will be for probably an injunction or mandating a body to do a particular act pending the determination of maybe the substantive suit. In this case, the judgment of Justice Aderibigbe does not indicate that there is any substantive suit. In fact, the action was purported to have been filed on 18th of February, and on the 21st of February, final judgment was granted. The order says enrollment of judgment as it's heading, and in the body of it, it says judgment, meaning that the court had come to a final determination by mere motion or notice. There are four ways recognized under the law and under the High Court rules of Osun State for bringing an action. And when you do not comply with this procedure, then your action is incompetent. One is by writ of summons. The second is by originating summons. The third is by originating motion. And the last one is by a petition. Where a party commencing an action now comes by motion on notice, which is a means of asking for an interlocutory order in between the proceeding of a particular court, and the court proceeds to grant a final judgment. That judgment is a product of illegitimate adjudication, and it is a nullity.
All eyes on Osun. If that election holds tomorrow, there will be two different elected officers for a single office. Very interesting development, and we'll wait to see how that will impact, on the polity. That's our time. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Colonel Adegoke, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
And still ahead on TVC News at 10, the federal government, through the Ministry of Interior, begins relocation of custodial centers from densely populated urban centers. We have details of the story and more after this break. You're watching TVC News at 10, a reminder of our top stories tonight. Court orders final forfeiture of $4.7 million, 830 million naira, and properties linked to the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele. Police advise Osun State government to suspend the planned elections in the interest of public safety and national stability. Outside Nigeria, U.S. President's envoy to Ukraine calls Volodymyr Zelensky a courageous leader after days of criticism from the White House. Still ahead in sport tonight, Manchester City host table-toppers Liverpool at Etihad Stadium. A 15-man committee announced by the Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, has the mandate of the House of Representatives to investigate allegations of terrorism funding in Nigeria. The committee is to meet with heads of security agencies and non-governmental groups to ascertain the veracity of the U.S. Congressman's allegation. The recent allegation by U.S. Congressman Scott Perry is still generating concerns in Nigeria. The lawmaker made mind-boggling claims alleging that the U.S. agency funds have been misused to support terrorist organizations. The Nigerian government is not taking the allegations lightly. Likewise, the Senate. Now let's bring in Professor of Peace and Conflict Studies in the University of Ilorin, Agbemisola Animashao, for more on this development. Prof, thanks for joining us on the news tonight. The U.S. ambassador to Nigeria has denied this allegation. He says the U.S. stands with Nigeria in its fight against terrorism. How do you think this incident will affect U.S.-Nigeria relations, especially in terms of counterterrorism cooperation?
Thank you very much. Straight to your question, it will not adversely affect our diplomatic relations because diplomacy is in the realm of statecraft, and the frontline actor in this regard is the ambassador. And he has come out clearly to say that there's nothing like that. So for me, I don't see it straining our diplomatic relations with the United States, especially given the history of affinity and cooperation and mutual benefit of the diplomatic relations between the two countries. In diplomacy, we have what we call back channels. So I believe, even if, assuming the worst even happens, I believe this can be handled through the back channels. And I think a direction has been given based on the comment of the ambassador by saying there's nothing like that. And don't forget, the United States has been consistent in supporting Nigeria's war against terrorism. They've supported investigation, they've supported humanitarian, in the area of humanitarian support, and they've been there for us as partners in our war against terrorism. So I want to believe that the comment by the congressman should not be taken too seriously, without due respect to him, because don't forget, the United States, the internal politics in the United States at this point in time is a peculiar one. It is not in a way that is characteristic with what we've known of statecraft in the United States. And I believe that, given the history of the two countries, I'm not sure this is not enough to put a strain on our diplomatic relations with the U.S.
But many Nigerians remain curious, especially when such allegation is coming from, an elected U.S. official, the 15-man committee.
And a former cop, too.
Absolutely. There's a 15-man committee now tasked by the House of Reps to look into these allegations. I'm wondering what you think should be the key steps they should take to ensure a thorough investigation.
Thank you very much. I think this should be the basis of launching a wider investigation beyond what the congressman said into all the ramifications of terrorist financing in Nigeria. And when we are talking about the terrorist financing in Nigeria, we should not limit ourselves to Boko Haram alone. How about the financing of IPOB, for instance? So, this is a very timely opportunity for us as a country and for the legislature in particular to do, a very broad and robust investigation into the financing of all forms of terrorism and banditry actually in Nigeria.
Regardless of the outcome of this investigation, do you think there are strategies Nigeria can begin to adopt to prevent the misuse of funds and ensure that whatever aid we are getting reaches its intended beneficiaries rather than terrorist organizations?
Thank you very much. We have an existing law governing the operations of the non-profit sector in Nigeria. So I think, first of all, it's important to maybe review the law in the light of what is happening, especially given the role of crowdfunding and online funding, and how they can access terrorism today. Maybe we may need to rejig that law to be at par, to be abreast of what is happening in terms of covert means of funding terrorism. But in ensuring that funds get to their intended recipients, it is important for us to strengthen our financial controls and oversight functions. We should, and I think in this regard, the legislature should work as well with academics in conducting due diligence on donors and partners who come or who are coming to operate in the country. Then we should have a clear policy on what and how we want to accept, support from anywhere. And in doing this, this should also be applicable to state government, not only to federal government agencies, because some donors will just pick a particular local government or a particular state. So it's important for us to have a holistic approach to this and bring on board, maybe through the Governors Forum, Algon, and the federal government. Then we need to put in place continuous training, especially for personnel of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and all other relevant agencies in the area of being able to detect potential and questionable sources of funding into the country. And we should also have a very robust institutional mechanism for monitoring the performance and operations of players within the third sector or the not-for-profit sector.
It's a good place to leave it. I say that you have a robust idea to share in this regard. We'll probably continue this conversation subsequently. Professor of Peace and Conflict Studies, University of Ilorin, Professor Gbemisola Adebashaun, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Elsewhere, the federal government, through the Ministry of Interior, has begun the relocation of custodial centers from densely populated urban centers. And this is just as the Immigration Service will be applying advanced passenger information and passenger name record in border security and law enforcement. Sifone Sien has more.
The Nigeria Correctional Service is implementing reforms that will improve operational efficiency and decongest custodial centers across the country. The inauguration of these vehicles is one of such actions by the federal government through the Ministry of Interior.
The process of the relocation of correctional centers has started, and we will fulfill it. The journey of the redefinition of correctional service has started. Gone are the days of mediocrity. Gone are the days of lack of accountability.
This event marks yet another milestone in our continuous efforts to strengthen the operational capacity of the service and enhance our ability to fulfill our constitutional mandates. These vehicles are meant to secure our custodial centers against external attacks, and they are equipped with long-range surveillance capabilities to protect against high-level threats with resistance to 12.7 mm ammunition general multi-purpose machine guns.
The focus shifts to the Nigeria Immigration Service, where officials have just concluded training on how to apply advanced passenger information and passenger name record in border security and law enforcement. Both API and PNR can be used in pre-screening travelers before they arrive at the immigration checkpoint and tracking suspicious travel patterns.
Today, I'm seeing a service that is whole and alive. It's called Responsibility of Border Control and Border Management. A service that is alive to the responsibility of migration management. I call a service that is whole to effective travel document issuance process.
The theme of this capacity building program, API, PNR, data analytics, and key procedures, was carefully selected based on the operational gaps we experienced at the Command and Control Center since its commissioning by His Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on the 10th of December 2024. We recognized that to fully maximize the present administration's investment in this project, we must engage in a lot of capacity building.
The minister assures that efforts to reform the services under the ministry will be sustained. Sifone Sien, TVC News, Abuja.
It's been a year since the Golden Initiative for All, GIFA, was launched. A vision brought to life by the late Patient Sumo Ino, wife of the Akwa Ibom State Governor. Friends, family and well-wishers gathered in Uyo to celebrate her legacy. TVC News' Miriam Daniels has more.
GIFA stands as a beacon of hope, transforming lives and strengthening communities in Akwa Ibom State since its launch in 2024. Over the past year, the initiative has touched many, especially in rural areas. An emotional Governor Omoino promised to keep her vision alive.
You have done well, and your mother, and indeed all of us here, are manifestly proud, extremely proud of you. My wife was a deeply humane person. As a matter of fact, she was like the mother hen, taking care of the needs of others, even at her own detriment. I am glad that the Arise Elderly Care Initiative, a project that was very dear to her heart, is being vigorously pursued.
My mandate as the coordinator of the Office of the First Lady is simply to build on the legacies of our dear mother, Pastor Patience Umo Eno. This we have done and will continue to do by creating impact in the lives of the vulnerable, as well as enhancing the quality of life of families in the state.
From healthcare and agriculture to maternal care and small businesses, GIFA has been a source of joy for many.
So we need them to help us with more engine and empower those women, those local women that will be using to produce this palm oil.
GIFA has not only focused on children, it has focused on both the adults, the men, the women, the children, and of course the youth.
The event wrapped up with the foundation laying for a permanent structure to house the GIFA project, ensuring its impact continues for generations.
As you keep striving to fulfill all our dreams, I pray that God will keep you alive. No evil will come near you.
It's a touching tribute to a vision that continues to transform lives. With the foundation now in place, the Golden Initiative for All, GIFA, looks set to keep making a difference in Akwa Ibom State for years to come. Miriam Daniels, TVC News, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has restated the commitment of the Senate under his leadership to progressive governance, economic empowerment, and national development. Senator Akpabio stated this in his acceptance speech at his investiture as a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers in Lagos on Friday. According to him, the Senate's commitment to progressive governance, economic empowerment, and national development remains unwavering. He said this will spur him to work harder, to push further, and to serve better. Expressing gratitude for the honor, he said that he holds dearly the values of service, excellence, and unwavering dedication to building a stronger, more prosperous Nigeria. Senator Akpabio explained that for over 5 decades, the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers has stood as a beacon of professionalism, integrity, and nation building. Governor of Delta State, Sheriff Aborowere, has paid a condolence visit to the family of elder statesman Edwin Clark in his country home in Burutu local government area of the state. The governor assured them of the state government's support throughout the burial process. Ikinamechi has more.
Days after the death of elder statesman Edwin Clark in Abuja at 97 years, Governor of Delta State is visiting the family to commiserate with them, saying it's a great loss to Ijaw Nation, Niger Delta, and the entire country. Governor Oborowori pledges to support the family towards giving him a befitting burial.
It is with profound sorrow that I extend my deepest condolences to the family of Pa Ike Clark, the people of Kiagodo, the Ijaw Nation, and the Niger Delta over his demise. Papa is somebody that is a household name in this country. He has lived a very fulfilled life. Man with integrity, very committed. He has left indelible mark on this nation. I don't know how, because if you look around in Nigeria today, you can't even see anyone that is vocal like him.
I want to assure this family today that as governor of Delta State, we stand behind this family and the Ijaw nation throughout this period. Papa, when we spoke last, he assured me as governor that you are doing very well. And you are not doing very well, I will tell you.
The governor later signed the condolence register as dignitaries who gathered here eulogized the Ijaw leader who they say will be greatly missed.
We will continue to miss him because he's one man that stood firmly for the voiceless. He's one man that will speak truth to power. No matter how you are, Per Clark will tell you the position and tell you how it is.
In the coming days, the family will be unfolding plans towards burying Edwin Clark here in Kiagbodo community in Burutu local government area of Delta State. Iken Amechi, TVC News, Kiagbodo, Delta State.
In order to ensure food security, reduce poverty and train agri-entrepreneurs, the Ondo State government says it has concluded plans to set up 2,000 farms in each of the senatorial districts of the state. The Senior Special Assistant to Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa on Agriculture and Agribusiness, Rotimi Akimbola, made this known at a farm lab in Ogun. Senior reporter Kazim Olowe has more.
Youths from Ondo State are currently undergoing training on the use of modern technology in farming, agribusiness and marketing through a program called Enterprise Youth in Agriculture. The training, designed for fresh graduates and undergraduates, was held at a farm lab located in Awowo area of Ogun State. The selected youths are to undergo a 3-month training on how to construct greenhouse, manage farm, plants and other agribusiness survival skills. Speaking during the program, the Senior Special Assistant to the Ondo State Governor and the Chairman of the Ondo State Agribusiness says the government appreciates the importance of agriculture and plan to reduce food shortages, reduce poverty and create employment opportunities through the project. He says the state is planning to send another 100 youth for the next batch of the program scheduled for March this year.
We're setting up structures of farms, both senatorial and cluster farming. I will give you an example. The senatorial farm are going to be 2,000 hectares of farm each in each senatorial district to be run by private sector and government.
A representative of the Farm Lab says the overall objective of the program is to raise more agri-entrepreneurs who will contribute positively to the economy of the nation.
How to survive out there when they go out for marketing and also constructing and planting for other persons that need their skills and knowledge.
Some of the beneficiaries appreciate the Ondo State government for the opportunity.
It's really nice, really a great opportunity for the people of Ondo State, and I happen to be one.
I'm very much grateful for what the Ondo State they have done. To partnership with this Soilless program, wow, it's very awesome.
The contingent also used the opportunity of the program to tour the farm lab, learn new things and see the practical works of the candidates. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Abeokuta.
And Jigawa State government has received a high-level gathering of researchers, policymakers, farmers and industry leaders to accelerate wheat production in Nigeria. The state government and the Flour Milling Association of Nigeria joined forces to strengthen wheat production in the state. TVC News correspondent Yusuf Issa has more and will return with business news.
Today, we gather here not just celebrate harvest, but to celebrate the remarkable strategy Gausen has made in transforming our agricultural landscape, particularly in wheat production.
The collaboration showcases a promising outcome with successful grain field held in the states. Wheat farmers in Jigawa State are anticipating highest harvest in the state's history due to interventions from federal government, Jigawa State Government and Flour Milling Association of Nigeria. Jigawa State Government has cultivated over 36,000 hectares for wheat farming, with plans to improve it to almost 50,000 hectares for wheat farming.
Jigawa State has emerged as a leading producer of wheat in Nigeria. From the cultivation of 55,000 hectares in 2023-2024 cropping season to an impressive 80,000 hectares in the 2024-2025, our growth is undeniable.
As we are aware, Jigawa State did not only participate but surpassed the allotted production of 40,000 hectares which was 33% of the total earmarked cultivation of 120,000 hectares for 15 wheat-producing states, including Jigawa.
Earlier, the Plough Milling Association of Nigeria provided hands-on agronomic training, equipping farmers with tools to boost productivity and profitability.
We have a total of 1,080 hectares in Devi village. But what is exciting about this place is you can see that less than 1/10 of the plantable area has been used. And I can assure you in Jigawa there are more than 200 Devis that are waiting to be exploited.
We're here to help the government and people of Nigeria produce more food. And that's exactly what you're doing here today, so that is so inspiring for us.
By training 160,000 farmers across 16 northern states, EPMAN and federal government are transforming wheat production in the country. With support of African Development Bank and other partners like EPMAN, Nigeria is seeks to cultivate 800,000 tons of wheat this year. Yusuf Isa, TVC News, Jigawa.
And in business news, the chairman of Hearst Holdings, Mr. Tony Elumelu, has said Nigeria needs revenue from oil to be able to effectively diversify and grow the economy. Mr. Elumelu said this on Thursday night while speaking in an interview on the sidelines of the Nigerian Petroleum Industry Leadership Discourse. The event with theme Nigeria's oil production, growth roadmap acceleration imperatives was put together by Hearst Energies. It was attended by Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lokbobiri, Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Mr. Gbenga Komolafe, and Chairman of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, Governors, Board of Governors, Mr. Ademola Adeyemi Beru, and others. Minister of State for Petroleum, Heineken Lokbobiri, said Nigeria's target of 2.06 million barrels of crude oil production in 2025 is achievable. He said 2025 budget is predicated on these figures, assuring Nigerians that this is achievable, noting that there was no investment in the sector for almost a decade.
If you look at Hearst Energies, for instance, when we acquired our asset from Shell, Shell was producing 21,000 barrels of oil from that asset. But since we acquired it, we have taken it up. Today, as I said, we produce 53,000 barrels of oil. So that tells you what we can do as indigenous operators. So I believe that if each and every one of us who has acquired some of this asset from the IOCs would increase their production, increase funding and produce, then it's possible. And I am very optimistic that with the incentives by the President Tinubu's administration, with the executive orders he has signed, and indeed a lot has changed in the Nigerian oil and gas sector in the past 12 months. So we must give credit to government on that. And I think that it's possible to achieve, at least go above 2 million barrels of oil per day, which is the record for Nigeria.
I think the key takeaway for us is that Nigeria's production ambitions are achievable. So over a long time, a few years ago, we were producing only about 1 million barrels of oil per day. As the Honorable Minister and NUPRC mentioned, we are producing today over 1.7 million barrels. So as a result of that, there is a target being projected to go to over 2.5 million barrels. We believe it's possible, and Hearst Energies will do its part to make sure that our contribution to the group, to that growth, is tangible.
The Association of West African Exporters and Marine Professionals are raising concerns over serious delays in export shipments, blaming the newly introduced Nigerian export proceeds policy. They say the policy has scored export trade by more than 40% and is putting businesses at risk. TVC News senior business correspondent Ifunaya Eze reports.
At an emergency stakeholders meeting convened by the Lily Pond Export Terminal Command of the Nigeria Customs Service, exporters and logistics operators voiced their frustrations, saying the situation has brought trade to a near standstill.
This present policy that was introduced by so-called MP, because it's
I can't see why CBN or anybody will just bring policy to a ordinary transport section. This trade belongs to trade, and it belongs to CBN and custom, not transport.
When the MPA, maybe we understand they are more concerned about transport, not commerce, not trade. And we are talking of trade today. We are not talking of transportation. We not want a situation that will be smuggled under the trade, for trade to oversight for the transport to oversight the function of the trade. This is what we want to correct.
Some participants argue that integrating Nigerian export proceeds into the trade and transport portal, which was meant to ease export processes, has only made things worse.
Having a rollover of 40% containers on a daily basis, not being able to make their way to the port, is a matter for serious concern.
The Customs Area Controller, Ajibola Ujusoya, assures stakeholders that the Nigeria Customs Service is ready to collaborate with the Nigerian Ports Authority and other agencies to find a solution.
Even if it is in the interim, that those 40% that are being affected by this policy will still be carried along until we have holistic discussion or holistic, we accept everything that will cover all legitimate trade.
But for many exporters, the way forward is clear. They want the government to revert to the single window system. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
The stock market closed the week in lower territories following dropping prices, the move in market sectors. The index ended downwards by a margin of 0.70%. Underscoring trade losses among investors. Price decliners were Honeywell Flour, First Bank Holdings, Academy Press, NIMET, and Sienna Leasing. Dangote Sugar was the highest taker of price advantage by more than 3%. This was followed by African Prudential Insurance, Champion Breweries, Charms, and Deep Capital. To the oil market, crude oil prices head downwards today, but we're still poised for a weekly rise on concerns over supply disruptions in Russia. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell to sell at $72.16 per barrel, with a downward price review of 0.44%. Brent crude futures experienced a decline of 0.34% to sell at $76.16 per barrel. Bonnie Light sells for $78.62 with a decline of 2.84%. For the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $78.19 per barrel with an uptick of 1.40%. Well, that's business news at 10 p.m. Next is sports. Thank you for watching.
Hello and welcome. It's time to talk sports now. Manchester City welcome Liverpool to the Etihad, hoping to put their outstanding European competition behind them. The Citizens are 17 points behind the league leaders, and a victory will close that gap. There will be games across all other centres over the weekend. Let's do a preview of the games and the following report.
Whichever person runs, adjust your position quick and safe.
Manchester City and Liverpool lock horns once again in what has been dubbed Super Sunday clash at the Etihad. The game acquires an intriguing texture with both teams reeling from midweek disappointments. Pep peak ahead of the encounter.
But a level of consistency quite similar with Jurgen, so deserves to be.
Arsenal will take on PSV Eindhoven and Aston Villa will face Club Brugge. Holders Real Madrid, who knocked out Manchester City in the knockout phase playoffs, face local rivals Atletico Madrid, and Bayern Munich will play Bayer Leverkusen in all Europe for the 6th time. The winners of that tie will face Aston Villa or Club Brugge in the quarterfinals, while Arsenal will meet record 15-time winners Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid in the last 8. That is, if they get past PSV. The two-legged last 16 ties will be played on 4th or 5th of March and 11th and 12th of March. And Manchester United appeal external on the grounds that the sanction imposed is reasonable and proportional. All right, just before we go, let's bring you updates now from the game going on in the English Premier League between Brentford and Leicester City. Brentford are 3 goals up at the moment, and the game is in its dying moments. With that sports at the moment, Femi returns with the rest of the stories.
Thank you, IK, for the updates in sport. One more story before we go tonight. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered that the South People's Democratic Party can go ahead with its Congress scheduled for Saturday, the 22nd of February 2025. Ruling in an ex parte motion brought by Desmond Owe and Osahan Okonedo, Justice J.K. Omotosho ruled that the application dated 20th of February to restrain defendants from holding the Congress in Calabar or anywhere else is refused. He also ordered the motion be served on the defendants. The defendants in the matter are PDP Acting National Chairman Aliyu Damago, National Vice Chairman South Dan Obi, and the People's Democratic Party. The matter was adjourned until 4th of March 2025. Earlier today, Justice G.V. Obomanu of the Rivers State High Court had issued an interim injunction restraining the People's Democratic Party and others not to go ahead with the Zonal Congress scheduled to hold in Calabar tomorrow. And outside Nigeria, the U.S. envoy to Ukraine has called President Volodymyr Zelensky a courageous leader, and says the pair had positive discussions in Kyiv. Keith Kellogg's comments come after the White House National Security Advisor said President Donald Trump was very frustrated with the Ukrainian president. 12 civilians have been killed over the past day in Russian strikes, according to Ukrainian officials, with homes and infrastructure hit. The U.S. and Russia are weighing up a meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, with the Kremlin saying no decision has been made yet. The White House is saying everything is on the table when it comes to peace talks, but Ukraine is not even sitting at it. Report says the U.S. is opposing, calling Russia the aggressor in the G7 statement marking the 3rd anniversary of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And that's the news tonight. Thanks for being a part of it. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Do have a wonderful weekend.